Well, good afternoon everyone, and I hope you enjoyed that seriously close-up view of a beautiful Burchell starling, glistening purple and blue in the afternoon sunlight here at Djuma Private Game Reserve. It's a wonderful winter's afternoon, and it's good to have you on board with myself, Scott, and I'm teamed up with Andrew on camera today. He is using a new camera that we are trying out, and it's got slightly more zoom than the other cameras we use, but the problem is that it doesn't feed a picture to my monitor screen, so I'm gonna have to just telepathically read into what exactly Andrew is filming and then narrate accordingly. Some kudu off to our left here. Really pretty antelope, and I think due to the heat of the day we may get lucky, and they don't appear to be moving much. They're also just relaxing in the shade and appear to be chewing the cud, so I don't think we'll actively see them plucking branches off these trees that they're standing amongst. And if we look very closely at their throat, they will eventually swallow the bolus of cud that they are feeding on. And you'll see it pop down their throat, and then now watch closely, you'll see the next bolus coming up the esophagus. Oh, not very clearly, but it stopped chewing temporarily until the next bolus of cud. Oh, now watch closely, watch for the next bolus, it's coming up now. Keep watching. If you blink, you'll miss it. I think she's just stopped to listen, but it's still on the way. Come on. There we go. I think. Was I imagining things? I guess possibly because she is listening so intently, she's... There we go. The next bolus has just arrived for her to continue to re-chew, and that way make sure she digests the food very efficiently. And this is one of the qualities of ruminants. They get every last little nutrient out of the food that they feed on, unlike other herbivores such as elephants, who have got a far more rudimentary digestive system, and food basically passes out the same way it went in, or looking very similar to the same as it went in. It wouldn't be the same way it went in. Now Brent is also out this afternoon, teamed up with VM, and he's headed across to Arathusa initially, and through default I've kind of been spending more time across there over the last few days, so it's his turn to change the scenery a little bit. I'm looking forward to exploring Djuma again. And my plan is to head up towards Buffels Hook Waterhole. And on a hot day like this, I'm hoping that we may have some activity down at the waterhole with some animals drinking. So let's carry on heading off in that direction. So for those of you who are not on the sunrise safari, just to give a little bit of an update, no big cats were seen by either Brent or myself, but the Birmingham coalition did pass through a tiny corner of Djuma in the night, and they've ended up in Sibambili, which is a property to the north of Arathusa, and they ended up actually chasing some young male lions and having a fight with some young male lions. It was just radio chatter that I heard, so I'm not too sure on the finer details, and even the guides weren't sure which young male lion they did get a hold of, but apparently they did give him a little bit of a beating. So some interesting stuff happened with regards to the Birmingham coalition, and they keep coming closer and closer to Djuma. So hopefully one of these days they're going to actually not just pass through the property but spend some time here, because it'll be great to see them again. It's a coalition of 5 up-and-coming male lions. And we viewed them quite a lot in November, December and January, but since then they've been spending a lot of time further north in the Manuleti Game Reserve. And there were some leopard tracks around, but nobody managed to locate them, so maybe we'll get lucky this afternoon. Brent's had a great morning at the hyena den and the complexities of their hierarchical structure and all of their social bonding and interactions that occur between them keep to fascinate us and entertain us. And it might be worth popping in there a little bit later. I'd like to spend some time there again. It's been a few days, so that is possibly on the cards for a little bit later. But for now that it's still quite warm, I think it's going to be good just to pop around to the different water holes in the hope that there may be some action there, be it mammals drinking or birds drinking. And speaking of water holes, thanks very much to Kaminka, I think it is, who've sent us through an update quite recently about the Djuma waterhole, as there's a live waterhole camera there, and she says there's a fish eagle there. So that's good news, and apparently it has been spending a little bit of time there over the last few days, so it's obviously realized that that drying pond is going to be an easy place for it to catch fish. And it might be worth us spending some time there. Imagine if we could capture it hunting a catfish, plucking it out of the water. That would be awesome to share with you. So maybe we'll pop down there and spend some time there this afternoon. Is looking forward to saying hello to all of you this afternoon, so we'll send you across to him and enjoy whatever he has in store for you.
Welcome on this live safari, everyone. My name is Brent and I have Bim, aka the wildebeest, on the vehicle with me this sunset safari. So just to let you know, Scott and I have traded places, so to speak, and I've come across to Arathusa. I felt like I haven't been here for a while, and Scotty's been coming here quite a bit, and he hasn't been on Djuma for a while. So maybe fresh sets of eyes in different areas will hopefully produce something spectacular. We're busy driving down the Marakini drainage line at the moment, and this was the last place Sindile was seen. So we are checking quite carefully in this area, see if there are any tracks. I know there were tracks of shadow found this morning, but a big herd of buffalo walked over them, so that'll make them nearly impossible to find again. So we're going to keep going down here. We might go past Arathusa waterhole a little bit later if we don't find any tracks. But welcome to all our regular viewers. Always great to have you on the back of the vehicle. If you are a new viewer, we are live, so you are joining me on a live search for leopards and lions and elephants and all the other wonderful creatures out here in the bush. You can also ask me questions about those wonderful creatures, and you can do that by sending us an email on questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So let's head out and see what we can find. So actually, I think we're going to start with a nearly impossible tree quiz. I don't think I've taught you this one before. James might have, or Scott might have, so I don't know. It's this tree right in front of us. And it is an acacia species. Not one we've looked at before. You see it's got really, really big, long thorns. It's very, very green, even at this time of the year. And I'm going to pick your leaf. I'll show you a bit closer now. But one of the diagnostic features of this acacia is that it is generally only found in drainage lines or along water courses. So that's your clue to help you identify it. I'm going to chop your little branch now so you can have a look at these massive thorns. I'm going to pop it there, and there's the leaf while I jump back into my seat. So you can see incredibly large thorns, and very, very green throughout the year, and even in the summer months the green sort of sticks out from the others. So there we go, you can see these really long thorns, very sharp. If you ever do stab yourself with acacia thorns, there's a slight poison in them, and it creates a little welter and an incredible itch afterwards. And you can see there's that compound bipinnate leaf of the acacias. So it's called a compound leaf because there's lots of them, little compound leaflets, and bipinnate means they are opposite each other, always opposite each other. So there we go, there's the first little quiz of the day. So you can send your answers for that to the email address questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Wonderful acacia, one of my favorites, and one I definitely haven't taught to you guys before. Well, let's continue on. Probably not a good idea to leave these in the car. I might sit on them later, but we will keep the little leaflets. So I'm also hoping that we might find some nice birds in this drainage line. Bit cooler down here, lots of nice trees that are evergreen. Obviously there's quite a lot of underground water here, and that's why you do get the trees becoming quite a lot bigger in this area. Unfortunately, no tracks of shadow or sindile yet. I might loop round and check back along the top edge of the drainage line, and not in it itself. There's a beautiful large jackalberry here, a really nice big specimen, probably a couple of 100 years old, even maybe a little bit older than that. So there's actually quite an interesting hollow, and I did get asked a while ago where bats might live in the Sabi Sands and in this area, and not the fruit bats, so to speak, but the other sort of smaller bat species, your free-tailed bats. Let's just get a bit closer. Just gonna pop my head up there quickly. Hopefully there are no snakes inside, but we'll have a look. And you can already see bat guano at the base here. So this looks like a really good spot for those little three-tailed bats, those insect-eating bats to live. And it goes so deep that I can't see up, but I can see quite a lot of bat guano down here. So I'm pretty sure that there's some bats living up in this chamber. And also what we can see here is what's caused this chamber is actually fire. Try to break off a piece here. So you can actually see charcoal. You can also draw a picture with it if we wanted to. And obviously you saw my artistic skills trying to draw a leopard track in the sand. Maybe I'll be a bit better in charcoal. But quite a nice hollow here caused by fire. As you can see, the fire has burnt a piece of the tree, but the tree has continued growing. And the fact that I can still get some darkness off this charcoal means it's quite a recent fire, so probably last year. And I did hear there was a very big fire that went through Arathusa in the dry season last year. But it's incredible, beautiful big jackalberry. And if we go up, we can actually see possibly where that chamber terminates. There's a hole there where can you get it from there, Liam?
Yeah, boy.
There we go. And that's possibly where the chamber terminates. And you probably find there's a couple of chambers in there that I can't actually see up, and that's where the bats are living. Beautiful, beautiful tree. Okay, so we have two answers in for that tree, and it is an acacia. One was a flaky thorn, and a flaky thorn actually never gets into a large tree like that, even though that tree has been fed on by elephants. It's never a flaky thorn stays sort of a small bush. We're not going to find any in the drainage line either. They're more up on the sort of laterite soils away from the drainage lines. But we will have a look. If I see one, I'll show you one. And then the other one was a mimosa. It is a mimosa, that is correct. But it is, I'm looking for the specific mimosa. Mimosa is another name for acacias. There's quite a big fight going on at the moment between Australia and Africa. So wattles are also known as acacias. Even though they're sort of quite soft acacias in my opinion, they got no thorns. So somehow Australia put forward a thing that only wattles from Australia could be called acacias, and now there's quite a big fight going on between Africa and that about that, because the first wattles, the first acacias described were actually described in Africa. And so there's quite a big argument at the moment. I'm not sure who's winning. Even if Australia wins, I'm definitely not going to start calling our acacias mimosas. I think I'll stick to an acacia for me, but it's not that. And the flaky thorn, as I said, this one is quite specific to the drainage lines and areas with very good underground water. And I think it is possible that I might be able to catch you on this one. Because I don't think any of us have taught you this particular tree before. no other answers in yet. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more time to try figure out what it is. Oh, he took off. The little crested barbers. Alright, so guys, I'm going to try and make my way out of this drainage line. There's no sign of tracks of Sindile or shadow. Talking about acacia trees, Judith in North Carolina was just asking, do they have a blossom? They do, and the different acacias have very different blossoms. The one we're trying to identify has a white blossom, sort of a round, beautiful little ball. One of the most incredible things about the acacias is that wonderful smell they give off while when they are in flower. And there are so many very different types of acacia. Here we have another one, an easier one that I'm sure you've all seen before. Quite a nice large knobthorn or Acacia nigrescens. And if we zoom in on that branch over there, you can actually see the knobs on the branch that give it its name. So there we go, that's the knobthorn, another acacia species, one of our more common ones. The one we're trying to identify at the moment is quite exclusive to the drainage lines, and there have been a few more answers. Still no one's got it correct. I think the last was a weeping wattle. A weeping wattle is not an acacia, it's a peltiform, so it's not the same family, although it does have a very similar looking leaf structure, but the leaves are quite a little bit longer. But not that. And then a prickly acacia is also not that yet. But so while I let you guys mull over it a little bit longer, we're going to go back to Scotty to see what he's been up to, and we'll leave you with a last view of this Acacia nigrescens.
Well, look at this incredibly awesome bird, the African hawk eagle, and that bright yellow eye that you can see glistening as it turns its head in the correct way. Now it's looking good. Is awesome. It's looking out towards its mate, who flew off towards their nest. And aren't we lucky that we know where they are nesting? Sadly, their nest is high up in a knobthorn tree, so we don't have the best views of it, but they are quite close by. Now, I'll be interested if any of you have noticed how there's a large bulge protruding from its upper chest. And birds of prey have what is called a crop. So it's kind of an extra storage system where once their stomach is full of food, if they have been successful in making a kill, or for vultures arriving at a carcass, they have the ability to store extra meat in this crop. And it's obviously had a very successful kill, possibly something like a guinea fowl that you that it would have shared with its partner. But if it's still full, then they did make a considerably sized kill. It wasn't long ago that Brent actually found the remains of a guinea fowl that had in all likelihood been killed by these same birds. It could even be the same pair that we see here at Djuma. They're not highly common, so we're very fortunate to have them nesting here, and we see them quite regularly. And with this new camera we have, it has got some great zoom, so even though we're not that close to it, you guys have got a great visual. Sadly, I cannot see what you're seeing, but I do have my binoculars out. Now it may fly off. It's looking like it wants to move, but what would be preventing it is that full crop, so it's not going to move unnecessarily, but it is kind of looking out towards its mate longingly. It looks like it also could be trying to calculate its plan to get out of this tree. Now, as I said earlier, this is an African hawk eagle, and I'm just told that Grant Levitas would like to know if we get another kind of hawk here called the bat hawk. And we certainly do, but I've only ever seen one specimen here. It was over a few days, but it was the same one, and it was along the Sand River. There are not many parts of South Africa that are well known for high bat hawk populations. But I have seen one here, so we could get lucky one day, Grants. And it's interesting you've asked. I've only been asked that same question once before. You can hear there's not much going on yet this afternoon. The birds haven't begun to call, and I think that could be attributed to the heat that we're experiencing today. But it's going to be worth noticing and taking note of the fact that the bush is going to begin to become louder and louder as we become closer to sunset. So that's something to look forward to. Now, I'm told Brent was giving you a quiz on various acacia trees earlier, and there's one right next to us here, and I want you to take a look at how big its thorns are. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and jump out the vehicle to give you a size comparison. I'm just going to do it quite stealthily in order to not chase away this African hawk eagle. Just watching me. But take a look at how big these thorns are. I mean, compared to my finger, absolutely massive. So thankfully though, in terms of driving around and getting punctures or anything, they're quite flimsy, so easy to break. You saw it wasn't much effort to break this thorn. They make useful toothpicks if you need them, so I'm going to keep this for later. But it's actually other plants called sicklebush and plants like that that are not as kind of flamboyant with all these thorns, but they've got small spines that you don't really notice, but because the wood is so hard, those are the ones that we have to avoid driving over to prevent getting punctures. I'm going to have to try and get back in without scaring away our bird. There we go. It's still there. It's not looking completely relaxed, but I think we have managed to do what we needed to do without disturbing it. Sorry, Andrew, because I don't have a monitor, everyone, I'm basically blindfolded and don't know what Andrew's doing.
It's okay.
Okay, well, we will send you back to Brent now as he is ready to tell the correct viewers who got the answers correct for that quiz. Enjoy, we'll see you later.
So welcome back, and there is a flaky thorn which we were just chatting about. As you can see, looks quite different, doesn't really become a big tree, stays a sort of little bush like this, and you can see how peely the bark is and very flaky. Still got those massive thorns on it, but we have someone who got it correct. I actually thought I had you guys properly stumped this time, and Terry got it correct, and it is indeed an Acacia robusta, or a splendid thorn. So the top one here, and they can get to very big trees, and they got those beautiful creamy white flower balls when they are in flower during the summer months. And you can see there's the leaf, very, very green even in the height of winter, and that's quite often where they get their name, the splendid thorn. They can get up to about 20 meters tall, and the wood is actually not very good to be used, because there's a species of wasp that lay their eggs in it, and they can sting quite a lot. Also, wood borers are very big fans of it, especially if there are any dead branches in that. And the wood borer that is found in there is from a longhorn beetle, and they are edible. I have eaten them before, and they actually are quite tasty if fried. So it's basically a big fat white grub, so like a giant maggot, can get to about this big, locally called mbungu in Shangaan, and mbuyo in Zulu, but they are very tasty when fried. They taste a bit like bacon, but they have the consistency of snot, so it's quite a weird experience. It's sort of like liquid bacon in your mouth, but really, really tasty, and a traditional delicacy out here. So I've actually worked with a tracker who used to look for those borer holes regularly and see if he could find those beetles and then fry them up over the fire, and we'd sit there and eat those big beetle larvae. Basically a big white maggot, but it tastes like bacon, and anything that tastes like bacon's quite good in my in my book. But other than that, the roots are said to be poisonous and are sometimes used as a traditional sort of insecticide sprayed onto crops or mixed with water, but there hasn't been any sort of scientific proof linking that. It could just be a traditional belief. But there we go, Acacia robusta, a splendid thorn. So I know a lot of you guys keep bird lists, and I recommend you should also start keeping a tree list of all the different species we see, and that could be quite fun. See if we can keep adding to that list every drive. And we will get to a point where the tree list might become quite difficult to add to, but that also makes it a challenge for us to find you new and interesting tree species. So we stopped at that really beautiful big jackalberry or African ebony that had the hollow in it that the bats were living in. And Norm was just wondering about how old was that tree. I would probably say that tree's, and I'm estimating now, 700 years, 500 to 700 years old. So a very old tree, and a very beautiful tree as well. Imagine the things that tree has seen over the years. Okay, some of my favorite little critters around here. I think I'm going to find a spot where we can see one in the open a little bit more. Oh, see him running down the road, high speed, to the safety of the termite mound. Hello guys, don't worry, We're not here to cause any trouble. Here we go. Dwarf mongoose, the smallest member of the carnivore family in Africa. Whoop. Another little head pops up. So they have been busy foraging for the majority of the day, and at this time of the day they will start slowly moving back towards the termite mound where they will be residing for the evening, and they'll have multiple sort of termite mound homes in their home range that they will live in, depending on how far they roam during the day. You can hear some more calling off in the distance. They are quite spread out at the moment. Oh. Can you hear that little contact call? Just talking to the other mongoose. So they look like they're all disappearing as they move off towards the den. There might be one or two left. Can you see any of them?
One on top, but he disappeared now.
Maybe if we just change our angle a little bit. At the back hole. No shame, a little bit shy of this guy. Okay, well, let's not scare him too much and let's move along. I do love those little guys, they're so incredibly cute. So we've got a few more dwarf mongoose out in the open foraging here. Probably part of the same group. Hop, hop, hop across the road. Hello, little guy. So while we've got this little guy right next to us, very cute little guys. Sharon in Pittsburgh was wondering, do they have a smell like skunks or ferrets? Sharon, most of the mongoose species do scent mark with their anal gland, but their smell is not nearly as strong as like a skunk or a civet. They are quite actually very, I think for a mongoose obviously they'll smell it quite clearly, but from a human point of view we don't smell too much. And he's having a look at the wildebeest there, checking them out. So they've sort of got things figured out. They don't wake up particularly early in the morning, and they wait till it's nice and warm and the sun is out. And they also sort of back at their dens by about 4 o'clock, and especially in the winter months. And you can see how tiny he is. So we're going to do a quick link across to Scotty, who's got a roadblock for you, and we'll be back a little later.
Welcome back, everyone. And these buffalo bulls do not want to make space for us. They are standing on the dam wall here at Djuma, but allowing for some great close-ups of them. We were hoping to show you some red-billed oxpeckers that just took off.
There's still one there.
Oh, can you still see one?
Yeah. Oh, there he flies.
Oh, awesome. It's come even closer. So if we're just a little bit patient, we'll hopefully keep hopping around onto this side of the buffalo's head or body. And all three of them, just like the kudu, are chewing the cud. Look at how pretty that bird is. Are you on it, Andrew?
I'm on it.
And great for you to be able to hear part of the oxpecker's call now. It's such a useful call to know, because when we're looking for animals and walking through the bush, if we hear that call, we could know that there may be some buffalo nearby. And when on foot, you want to try and avoid these big old bulls. You'll probably notice hundreds of little flies every time the buffalo twitches or moves. And I'm certainly grateful that we don't have that many following us around. It must be seriously frustrating, and that's why every now and then the buffaloes will twitch their ears, trying to keep them away from their eyes. Maybe the oxpecker's calling in some reinforcements. And on this close-up view, you'll notice that very pretty yellow ring around its red eye. Only the adults will have this, and youngsters that were born or hatched rather in November or December last year have yet to get this bright yellow marking. So it'll take them over a year to get this adult plumage. And not only are they pretty birds, but they serve an incredibly important role in this ecosystem. Look at this, this is awesome. And that role is to keep all of the herbivores not parasite free, but certainly help reduce the load of ticks sucking the blood from all of our herbivores. And that's why buffalo and rhino and a lot of the other antelopes will be very tolerant of the oxpeckers. From time to time, when the oxpecker tries to climb into their ear, understandably they get a little bit frustrated and will try and deter them from doing that. As you can imagine, it must be quite ticklish and intrusive for the buffalo.
I'm on the mouth.
And you can see it busy chewing on the cud with that sweaty nose. I'm just going to ask Andrew to pan down to the right, to the water's edge. There's an animal that we don't see very often, especially not out in the open like this, and it's a vervet monkey. And a lot of you often request for us to try and show you these monkeys. So sorry it's taken a while, at least from my side. It's been quite some time since I've seen one. And you can see it's busy feeding. I wonder what it's feeding on. Out of these dried cracks and crevices. Interesting to think that that monkey would be underwater now if it was November or December. This water will fill up considerably in the summer months during our rainy season. And these little monkeys are omnivorous, so there is a chance that it could be feeding on little insects that have died. But I'm guessing it's possibly seed pods blown off trees that are easy to see and collect on this open ground. She takes a few more steps, we're going to get some great reflections of hers in the water. And maybe she'll even have a drink. No, she seems focused more on feeding than drinking at the moment. I think there it might be drinking in another small puddle. Yeah, sadly we couldn't see there. Okay, well, the buffalo is not only in our way of going to where we want to go, but it's also in the way of us showing you the monkey. So these buffaloes have made up their own mind. I want to ask Andrew just to pan across to the buffalo on the left. It's got incredible character in its face, and it reminds me a bit of Walter Matthau, actually, who some of you may know. A hilarious actor. And wait until you see his face and let me know what you think. Well, that is a serious face. Look at those wrinkles. He's also got an incredibly pronounced boss, where his horns meet at the center of his head. And very tattered old ears. I'm sure this big old buffalo would have a lot of interesting stories to tell us about the number of lions he's chased away and the amount of buffalo bulls he's also taught a lesson. He looks like he certainly commands a lot of respect. And judging from his very aged and wrinkly face, he could be approaching his 20s, or even slightly above that age. He really does look like he's been around for quite some time. Still in good health though. Still looking big and strong. And as he gets older, it is going to be harder for him to keep condition, especially in these drier months. He looked at me almost as if he heard what I was saying. No, you'll be fine. I take that back. Okay, good. I've got a huge amount of respect for these animals. At a glance, or if you don't know much about them, you would just assume them to be very much like a cow. But they certainly aren't, so don't be fooled by their very relaxed behavior we're witnessing at now, and almost docile behavior. They are incredibly powerful and are really wonderful animals in terms of what they can actually do to the predators that try and take them down. They will run in, and I've seen buffalo saving other buffalo on a number of occasions, but in some instances it'll just be two lone bulls, one of which a pride of 8 lions took down and was bellowing as they do when they are caught, and this one lone buffalo that it was with came back and chased all 8 of those lions off it. And it wasn't a dissimilar situation from what we saw the other day with Brent. Similar amounts of lions. They had eventually got it to the ground and were choking it, both with a strangulation hold on the air pipe as well as one on the muzzle. And this was the same scenario, but there was one extra lion. The buffalo was down. It was doomed. But one single buffalo came back, chased all those lions off it, and both of them got off and ran off. And surprisingly, when the buffalo that had been brought down ran off, you could hardly even see any scratches or blood on it. I'm sure it had some, but they're incredibly tough animals. And it looks like they want to pass by us, so I'm just going to reverse a little bit, because this might be a bit too steep for them, and we don't want to create any hardships for these old boys. Although the one on the right doesn't look too old. He's going to be a beautiful big bull though. His horns are massive. Let's see if this doesn't help their plans. And what it will do is it will help us to get a view of the monkeys grooming one another in the shade in the background. It's quite a hard to reach spot yourself, I guess, so very thoughtful of the other monkey to be tending to that part of the body. He says it's just humans that kiss. It looked like those monkeys were having a little bit of a kiss there, but I just think it was the angle. Be it lions or hyena or monkeys, I really love watching wild animals show affection to one another. And as great as that is, though, I do want to get Andrew to pan up to a pretty bird that's just landed in the dead tree above the dam. I think it's the same tree potentially that the fish eagle may have flew into earlier, from the report we got from Kaminki. Isn't that an incredibly pretty bird, especially in this afternoon sunlight? You get a great idea of its coloration, I'm guessing. That red beak glistening in the sun, and also those brown rufous colored feathers. You'll notice a white bar at the bottom part of its wing, indicating to us that this is a female. And I wonder if it's going to come down and drink. Please come down and drink. On cue, I think we may be in luck, but we are going to have to reposition. Oh, I thought about it, but then it continued flying, so let's see if we can creep forward a little bit and see exactly what it's up to. Come on, buffaloes. No ways. Quickly, Andrew. Have you got it?
On the ground.
No, it's in the tree. The dead tree on the far right, to the right of the antennas. Sorry folks, it's very difficult for me without a monitor because I've got no way of guiding Andrew into whatever we're looking at. But you may have heard some calls there, and it was busy vocalizing, and it does a crazy display when it does vocalize, so let's hope it does it again. Well, who knows who it's calling, possibly another mate. And I have actually just spotted one up in the sky, not too far from us. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and it'll be incredible if it comes in from that distance. You can hear the buffalo scratching itself on the one in front of it as they walk past us. That's a go-away bird we can hear calling now. Well, the passenger that I can see off in the distance is a female, so I doubt should be calling that one. And it's just taken off. Where is it going? It is going to go and drink. Oh, we need to rush. We need to hurry, but I don't think we're going to see this. Oh, Walter. Come on, Walter. Thank you. Sorry, old man. It's a bachelor drinking. It's not something we see very often. Sorry, monkeys. So it's decided to go up and drink at the small little waterhole that's being fed with water as this main Djuma dam dries up. So it's a little bit fussy, that bachelor. She doesn't want to drink the muddy water, and I don't blame her. I would also go for the fresh option if I had the choice. Now where she landed, I'm not convinced we're going to be able to get a good view of it, but it's certainly worth a try. It's quite a steep bank.
About 400 buffalo. Welcome everyone. It seems like Scotty's battling a gremlin again, but what a perfect time to come join us here. VM and I have lucked upon two members of the Big Five in one spot. Over my shoulder there's a big herd of buffalo crossing into Arethusa, possibly the same herd of buffalo that you saw with Scott this morning, and I'm hoping they're going to make their way towards the Arethusa waterhole and have a drink. There's a little guy, and then not 5 meters to the left of us is another member of the Big Five, the biggest member of the Big Five, and we have a nice Eddie Bull, young Eddie Bull, probably mid-20s. Oh, I can hear more elephants in the distance trumpeting somewhere in front of the buffalo. So I don't know if you guys can hear that rumble. It almost sounds like a purr growl. And those are other elephants off to the right. There's one other elephant next to us, but it sounds like they're getting upset with the buffalo. Decisions to make. Do we go to the elephants that are making a lot of noise, or we sit here with him for a bit? And I think we'll spend a minute or two here with this nice bull. Looks like he's going to be a big bull one day. Nice, very nice, even tusks. Busy making short work of that bush willow branch. Well, there's a whole breeding herd and actually walking towards us, off to the right, right on the edge of the herd of the buffalo. Sometimes it's quite fun if we get in close there, because those young bulls like to chase buffalo. So let's go have a look. Another little bull here, but I want to get to where the females are, and that's much closer to this big herd of buffalo. So here come the ellies. These are the ones I think that were making quite a bit of noise. Isn't this great? We've got buffalo in the road in front of us. Nice big herd just beyond the elephants, and these ellies. Fortunately, ellies are crossing out of our area, but the buffalo are crossing in. So sort of a trade agreement going on here. Now, with these big herds of buffalo, I know Scotty was chatting about it this morning. We might get lucky, and we're definitely going to search through to see if there's any yellow-billed oxpeckers. So, bye Ellies, enjoy your time to the east of us, and we're going to stay with this big herd of buffalo. Oh, more elephants. There's a tiny baby there. Okay, nice Ellie. So it is. So that's why I stopped, and you see her body language immediately relaxed. And obviously we don't want to there. It is a huge herd. Everywhere I look, it's buffalo. Guessing a couple of hundred at least. So I am keeping a very close eye for quite a special bird, a yellow-billed oxpecker. And Joan in England actually asked, is there one? Not yet, Joan, but we are keeping our eyes peeled. We're going to try and get through to sort of the center of the herd, get really amongst the buffalo. Look at this old cow in front of us. She's got quite an interesting, I'm going to try to get a view of her again now. Interesting face. Almost looks like she's going grey. Oh, she's disappearing from us. Trying to find a way through between these trees. Are we okay there? There she is. She's going grey and she's got a very deformed horn. It looks like she's actually gone grey in the face. She's going to turn and look at us now. There we go. Oh, she's just through there. I actually think she might have a skin condition. Let's have a look in my binoculars. Nope. She could have a little bit of leucism. If you have a look at that face, it's really, really interesting. It is not that she's missing fur at all in her face. It's actually that it's white. And there's patches of fur on the rest of her body that's white. I've actually seen a nearly all white buffalo in Tanzania, in Mikumi National Park. Oh, yes, madam. And she's obviously broken her horn, and she's got a very unique horn there. Actually, looking at that horn, it looks like she was probably born with a defective horn. But that is actually white fur on her face. And as you can see, that's her calf there. And I can't see any of it on the calf. So maybe some strange recessive gene. She looks a bit grumpy. We'll try and get another view of her. You okay, Vim? Good. So you guys, our aerial just dropped down there. This is not the best area to view a nice big herd of buffalo. I'd much prefer it on a nice big open place. Just going to try and get through. bird seems to have quite a few deformed horns, or broken horns. This little guy here is disappearing, and the one to the left. So Eugene was wondering, what is the difference between the two oxpecker species? Give me a second, I'll grab my bird book. So Eugene, some of the diagnostics on the oxpeckers, and especially if you only get a quick glimpse of them disappearing, you don't actually get a chance to see them actual faces and that. If we have a look, the yellow-billed oxpecker has a pale rump, and it has a half yellow bill. It's got a yellow base to the bill with a red tip and a pale rump. The red-billed has a yellow eye ring and a completely red bill and a dark rump. So when they're flying, that is the best way to tell the difference. I've been keeping a lookout, and I'm not seeing many oxpeckers with this herd. A few flying over, but only red-billed so far. We're right in the center of the herd. We literally are now surrounded by buffalo. So if we're going to spot a yellow-billed oxpecker, this is the spot to be. A nice big bull, keeping a watchful eye on us. Now, buffalo are incredibly important cogs in the ecosystem. As they move through here, their hoof action actually turns up the ground, helps get the grass seeds in it, and as they move, they're huge fertilizing machines as well. So their dung is very important when the rain comes, and they'll fertilize and give nutrients back into the soil. I'm guessing there's probably 400 odd buffalo here, but it is very difficult in this thick woodland to see exactly how many. Also hoping a little that they might attract some lions. Liam's going to pan around and show you. So he's keeping going in sort of 180 degrees, and there's quite a lot behind us still as well, but completely around us we are surrounded by this herd of Cape buffalo. So on the topic of oxpeckers, they obviously don't nest on the buffalo. So Pamela would like to know, Where do oxpeckers make their nests? In dead trees, generally, Pamela. In the holes in dead trees that could have been made by other birds or other things. That's where they will make their nests. There's a nice little one coming quite close to us here. Now buffalo calves have quite a unique drinking style. So it enables them, because buffalo herds are so mobile, as you can see this little guy walking behind the female, they will often drink from between the back legs while the female is moving. And there's very, very few animals where the youngsters suckle while on the move. So a very, very interesting adaptation. And that's because these buffalo herds move such vast distances. So obviously we've watched a really fascinating lion on buffalo interaction last week, and Genevieve from New York is wondering how the dynamics would work in such a big herd like this as opposed to open areas and closed areas. Well, Genevieve, I think this would be absolute pandemonium if the lions ran in here. I think lots of things wouldn't know what was going on, and there would be chasing of lions and lions chasing buffalo, buffalo chasing lions. But I think they're probably a better chance of success in these thicker woodlands, where there's in open areas the buffalo might be more organized in their defense. Where there's here, I think they wouldn't really know what was going on. It would be very, very difficult for them because of how thick this woodland is. So, quite interestingly, there's obviously quite a dominant hierarchy within the buffalo herd. Oh, here comes some oxpeckers. And we're looking for a pale rump as they fly off. I unfortunately didn't see any, I only saw dark rumps there. But as I was saying about buffalo herd hierarchy amongst the bulls, there is a very, very definite hierarchy amongst the breeding bulls that are with the, see if he lands. He's doing the same. There's a lilac-breasted roller that's following the herd, taking advantage of all the insects a big herd of buffalo like this would disturb. Okay, we're going to try sneak up on this roller while I continue to chat a little bit about buffalo herd hierarchy. I can see the roller in the tree up to the left, and there's obviously fork-tailed drongo there as well. And I think the roller is doing the same as the drongo, taking advantage of all the insects that are being disturbed by this monster herd of buffalo. And there, Vim. Try to get a, how's that? Look. There we go. Fortunately in a bit of shadow. So while we stay with this buffalo herd and see where they're heading, let's go from one roller to another.
Well, this isn't something that happens often, and at least you did get a brief glimpse of another beautiful lilac-breasted roller, the same bird you're viewing with Brent. And that's the great thing about being out on safari. All these little things happen that we never really can be sure of, and this is an example of one. I wonder when last on Safari Live we linked from roller to roller. And we actually came here specifically looking for this one. They're quite territorial. And we know there's one that hangs out in this general area. And we thought we'd have a look for it before taking you across to the hyena den, which is just a minute or two away. It's a perfect time in the afternoon to expect a little bit of activity at the den, provided some of the adults are there. So let's go and have a look. Nobody else has been there this afternoon, so we will be the first people to check out what the scenario is out there. And if it was anything like this morning, we're in for a treat. Brent's had a wonderful morning there. And over the last week or so, we've been having some really interesting sightings at the den. So let's hope that happens again now. Thankfully, the wind died down early on this morning. It was incredibly windy, and that continued till about midday.